Hey everyone, and welcome to this awesome tutorial that we got for you today. My name is Eddie. I'm the product support manager for the phone and email team. We're actually going to walk you through the entire process of A2P approval. This is going to break down everything that you're going to need to know today in order to go through and get your A2P actually approved. Best practices we're going to cover. A lot of good things, a lot of great information on this video. Please make sure to take notes or reference back to this video if you need any additional help. So to get started here, this is just a sub account that I created for the sake of this tutorial today. The main thing that you do want to make sure that you have on hand in order for you to continue with your A2P registration is going to be your CP575 notice. This is a very important document to actually have on hand. Just in case your brand actually does get rejected, this is actually going to help support. Go ahead and appeal that rejection reason. So again, we have a CP575 notice that I have an example of with some information on here that we're going to use in order to pull this into the correct area for your A2P registration today. Now, we're going actually back into the sub account. You want to make sure that you are in sub account view, and we're going to go to settings. So the first step here is actually going to be to fill out the information in your business profile settings. It is very important again to have that CP575 notice, as we are going to use the information on here to populate the data in the business profile settings. So with that being said, the main thing that you do want to make sure is that you have the legal business name in here. Now this legal business name is going to be the exact legal business name as it's registered on your CP575 notice. So for instance, in our example today, it's going to be ABC Industries LLC. From there, the next section that we're going to look at here is actually the business physical address. Again, you do want to make sure that the information that you're putting in this section is matching exactly as your CP575 notice. Once you have the business physical address information already added, we're going to go ahead and scroll down to where it says authorized representative. You want to make sure that you're putting in the information dependent on your CP575 notice as well. So here our authorized representative is John Jones. We're going to use this name inside of this section and fill that out. Also, very important to note, also in this section, what's very important is the phone number section. So here in the phone number, you want to make sure that you're using your personal phone number, not an LC phone number or a Twilio number for the registration. The next part here is going to be the business information. Now we want to make sure that you're selecting the correct business type. So if you're an LLC, choose LLC. Business industry is super important as well. And then the business registration ID type. So here we're using an EIN for our example today. We're going to be using a US business for this, but do note that you can register for A2P outside of the US. You just need to make sure that your business is actually a tax-paying business in your respective country. So in this example, if we look at the CP575 notice, we are just going to match the EIN number that's on here inside of this section here where it says business registration number. Okay, so that concludes the first part of this tutorial. We always want to make sure that we are referencing this business profile section and making sure that the information on here is accurate in accordance to your CP575 notice. Once you've verified that all that information is accurate, we can move on to the next step, which is going to be looking at your website, making sure that everything is compliant on the website, and moving forward from there. In this part, we're actually going to look at your business website just to make sure that everything is compliant, that you're not mentioning anything on the forbidden message category that could potentially cause your campaign to fail. Okay. Now in this example, I am going to be using a music business or a musician or an artist as our example. But most of the things I'm going to be covering here are going to apply to any business, right? So number one, we do need to make sure that our website is active, okay? When it comes to your domain, you need to make sure that the domain is attached to the website that you're using. In this example, I actually built this website with our built-in website builder inside of High Level. So you do want to make sure that you're not using any high level branded links when you're submitting this up for A2P. You need to make sure that you have an attached domain to your website in order for this to pass through campaign registration. I know in this example, I don't have a branded domain on here, but let's just assume that I have abcindustries.com as my branded domain. One of the main parts here is they're going to just peruse through your website. They're going to check buttons. They're going to click on things. They're going to make sure that this isn't spammy, scammy, anything like that. So again, we do want to make sure that the site is fully functioning. I am going to show you a couple different versions of opt-in that you can actually use on your website. If we scroll down a little bit in this example, you're going to see that I have this opt-in here where it says stay up to date on all things electric. The name of this band is Electric Voyage. Text start to this number. They're going to be opting in to receive marketing messages from my business, right? So here you can see it says text start to this number. It says by texting the number above, you agree to receive marketing messages from ABC Industries LLC. Message and data rates may apply. Text help for assistance. Message frequency may vary. Text stop to unsubscribe. If you're asking your customer to opt in to receive messaging from your customer, you need to have these disclosures available. This is another way that a lot of our customers actually use our platform to gather opt-in from their customers. The main important things to understand when it comes to this opt-in form is a few key points. Number one, we do need to make sure that the phone number section is not a required field. If you're using our form builder, this is something that you're going to have to go into the form. For example, here's the actual website opt-in form. You're going to click on the phone number field and you're going to make sure that this little box here on the right-hand side is unchecked. The next part is making sure that we have proper opt-in verbiage or the CTA disclosures in order for you to pass campaign registration. As you can see here, I'm just going to read this aloud. I consent to receive SMS notifications, alerts, and upcoming show details from ABC Industries LLC. Please keep in mind with the CTA disclosure, especially with the opt-in checkboxes, that you do have proper sender ID established, which sender ID is going to actually reference your company's business name. The business name is going to be the business name that you use to register for your brand, which is the business name that's reflective on your EIN number. Now, do keep in mind that we do understand that there are businesses that use DBAs. DBAs are fine. I'll actually show you in one of the further steps here in the tutorial how you can go ahead and kind of let our provider know the correlation between your EIN registered brand and your DBA. For this example, I'm just using my registered business name for this, but if I did have a DBA, I would put something in this disclosure saying ABC Industries LLC, DBA, my business DBA name. The next important thing that you need to have on here is message frequency. So in this form, I actually have message frequency may vary. If you're only going to be sending out 3 messages a month, you need to disclose that in your opt-in language. So you would put a statement in here like only going to be sending out 3 messages every month or 1 message a week, however you want to word it. The next thing that's very important to add is message and data rates may apply. After that, the next disclosure is going to be text help for assistance. So when it comes to text help for assistance, if you already have an established Twilio or LC phone number, you have the option to add that number if you'd like. The main important thing on the CTA disclosure is letting your customers know that they can reply stop to unsubscribe at any time. This first disclosure is what's going to be called a transactional disclosure. This is for type of businesses that are sending out transactional notifications in the sense of appointment reminders, alerts, and SMS notifications for 2FA. If you are going to additionally send out marketing messages, it is best practice here to add another consent checkbox stating that you will be sending out occasional marketing messages and allowing your customers to have the option to opt into those marketing messages. Now, if we go back to the form, I am actually using a custom field for my opt-in. It's best practices as well in our platform to set this up with custom fields. That way you can set up automations to automatically put customers on D&D if the opt-in checkboxes are not checked. Another important thing on this form is to make sure that you have links to your privacy policy and terms of service. Now, if we go back to the form on the site, you can see that if I click on privacy policy, it is linking to my privacy policy on my site. Same thing as if I were to go back to the form and click on terms of service, it's gonna go ahead and open up the terms and conditions or terms of service for my site. Keep in mind that on these opt-in forms, it is best practice and mandatory to have a privacy policy and terms and conditions link in your form. If you're using our form builder, it is very simple to go in here and add the text files. From there, you can go ahead and add the text information inside of this box. And then if you highlight over the privacy policy or whatever text you add in here, you can click on these three dots and create a hyperlink and add the link to wherever your privacy policy is stored. Same thing is going to go for the terms of service. If you are gathering opt-in via a kiosk or something of that nature where you have somebody physically going to a device to gather opt-in information, for example, a hair salon, nail salon, barbershop, X, Y, and Z, what you would actually want to do in this scenario is you would go ahead and create a Google Doc. In that Google Doc, you will then go ahead and take a screenshot or a picture of your kiosk with the form available in it. You would then add that to the Google Doc. Make sure that the Google Doc form is shareable to anybody viewing the document. Then in that form, you would actually explain how your customers opt in to receiving messages via your kiosk. Again, in this scenario, more is better than less. You want to make sure, especially with your opt-in disclosures, whatever SMS you're going to be sending out your customers is explicitly stated in your opt-in forms. So for example, if I'm a restaurant and I'm going to be sending order delivery updates, I want to make sure in my opt-in forms that I'm actually adding that disclosure in my CTA flow. Now, to continue on here, we're just going to go back to the website that they are going to check to make sure that your footer has a terms of service and a privacy policy in there as well. Now that we can go ahead and see the privacy policy and terms and conditions, I'm going to actually give you guys some tips on your privacy policy in order to make sure that it is compliant. So now that we have our privacy policy open, I'm going to actually tell you what the provider is looking at when it comes to your privacy policy. The main thing here is that you want to make sure that you're not mentioning sharing any customer opted-in information with any third-party affiliates or parent companies. Now, again, here at High Level, we cannot give you guys legal advice on what to add or say on your privacy policy. For us, it's really giving you guidelines and best practices on what's going to help you in the approval process. These sections that you see in the privacy policy do need to be clearly stated. So how we collect your information, how we use your information, data security, cookies and trackings technology. This is all basic things that every privacy policy should have. So an important thing, if we look at section 3 and opted-in SMS information, you can clearly see in my privacy policy for this page, it literally says here, values your privacy and is committed to not sharing, selling, or otherwise disclosing your opted-in SMS information to third parties. Your phone number and any information related to your SMS subscription will not be shared with any external entities unless required by law or in connection with the legal obligation. it is very important that you explicitly state somewhere either that you're not sharing information, or you can add a clause at the top of your privacy policy, pretty much stating that this privacy policy does not cover text message or SMS opted in information. So after reviewing this privacy policy, I feel confident that this website will actually get us approved for A2P. In the next part here, we're actually going to go more in depth into the breakdown of how you want to go ahead and submit this application via our trust center. One last thing that I do want to touch on, as far as opt-in forms, do make sure that any opt-in forms that are asking for phone number information actually have all of the compliant CTA guidelines. So that is including message frequency, sender ID, text help for help, text stop to unsubscribe, and all of the disclosures that I pointed out in the last step. So where you actually want to start here is you want to go into your sub account. Do keep in mind, if you are on your own Twilio account, you will not be doing the registration within the GHL platform. You will then actually open up your console and you'll go through the A2P registration via your own Twilio console. From here, we're going to go back into the sub account. So I'm just going to click on switch here. We're going to go down to ABC Industries. We're going to go to the sub account settings. We're going to go to the phone numbers tab. And from here, you can see that we have our LC phone account, but there are no numbers in here. That is okay. You do not need a phone number in order for you to register for A2P. So the next step here is to go to the Trust Center. From here, this is our A2P portal. If you have any text start, opt-in flows. As you can see, the brand and campaign have not been started. A2P has two steps: the brand verification and the campaign verification. Brand verification is really going to be built around your business. So this is going to incorporate the information that we entered that was dependent off the information that you had in your CP575 notice. I'm just going to go ahead and hit the start registering button. From here, the first question you're going to be asked is this business entity you're registering located in the US and or Canada. In our case, our business is registered in the US. Again, if you're not registered in the US with an EIN, you can still register for A2P. So we're just going to go ahead and click continue here. From here, as you can see, all the information that has been populated on here is all the information that we added inside of the business profile. From here, I do 100% recommend double checking the information to make sure, one, you put the information in correctly, and two, that the system pulled the information in correctly as well. When it comes to the registration, in this section, it is best practice to actually grab the information from line 1 and line 2 when you're adding the legal business name. So we're just going to add this on here. I'm just going to put it in caps, John Jones, MBR. So again, just to recap, it is best practice when entering the legal business name in the A2P registration that you're adding the lines from line 1 on your CP575 form and line 2 on your CP575 form. Now that I've confirmed that, we're going to go ahead and hit continue. In this next section again, it's going to be looking at the information that we populated from the business profile. You do want to double check that this information is accurate. Again, using your CP575 notice as a reference. 12345 Elm Street, Orlando, Florida, 32822. Now that we verified that the address information is accurate, we're just going to go ahead and hit continue. From here, this is the authorized representative information. Again, when it comes to the phone numbers, you want to make sure that you're using a real phone number, not the LC phone number that you're using for your business or a Twilio phone number. That is an actual working mobile phone number. Now again, on this example, you can see that it's giving me the invalid email address. That's because I have everything in caps. John at abcindustries.com. As soon as we take it out of caps, it went ahead and fixed it, and we're just gonna go ahead and hit continue. This is when it comes into the pricing and knowing which type of end you're going to be registering for. When it comes to A2P, there's two registrations for your brand. You're gonna do a low volume standard, or you're gonna choose a high volume standard. So do note, when it comes to A2P, you have two type of brand registrations: low volume standard and high volume standard. The choice here is all going to be dependent on the type of volume that you think you're going to put out. So for instance, if you're a small business, it would probably be best to start with a low volume standard. If you're a bigger business and you're planning on sending out a higher volume of SMS, you might want to go with a high volume standard, as it allows for a higher message segment limit per day. Do note this as well. You can upgrade the brands, but you will need to submit the A2P registration from scratch. So if you start at a low volume standard, you can always upgrade to high volume, but you will need to submit a brand new registration for that. So in this scenario, I'm just gonna go with the low volume standard. And then right under here in acknowledgement, you'll actually see the pricing for the low volume standard. There are two different kind of pricings depending on the registration you go with. High volume is going to be a little bit more expensive than low volume standard. Again, in this scenario, we're just going to go with low. I'm going to click on acknowledge, and we're going to go ahead and hit continue. The next part in your A2P application process is going to be the campaign details. The main part here is understanding the type of campaign use case that you're going to establish for your business. If we click on this drop down, you're going to see a bunch of different use cases here. If you're only going to be sending out two-factor authentication messages for login credentials, you might want to pick two-factor authentication if that's all you're going to be sending out. So for this section, when it comes to use case description, you do want to be as descriptive as possible on what you're using your campaign for. For example, if I'm a doctor's office, I'm going to be sending out appointment reminders to my customers. I'm probably not going to be doing too much marketing if I was a doctor's office. There are some cases where I might. Remember, you want to be as descriptive as possible here and break down your entire opt-in if you need to describe that in this section. Another thing that's very important for those customers out there that are using a DBA, this is the area where you want to express the correlation between your registered brand and your DBA. So for example, in my case, I'm ABC Industries LLC. That's the brand that I registered in the first section of the application, but I'm actually representing the band on my website, Electric Voyage. So here I can explain the correlation between ABC Industries LLC and Electric Voyage, the band that I represent. We do have some examples that you can use as templates. I do recommend when you're using our examples that you're filling out the information that is inside of the parentheses box in order for you guys to go through with proper approval. So if we were going to use an example here, I'll just click on see examples, and we're just going to use example number 1. We're going to paste that in here, and then you can see that it says confirmation reminder messages to customers once they've booked an appointment with company name. You want to make sure that you're filling this in with your company name. You don't want to use any placeholder text, as that's going to lead to a rejection. So if I was going to be using this template, I'm going to go ahead and delete company name, and I'm going to put ABC Industries LLC. So moving on, what we're actually going to do here is the step that I would recommend you guys doing as well. Just filling this in on your own with your specific use case description. So for example, in my opt-in flow, I want to send out reminders to events, concerts, promotional material, and merch delivery notices. So I'm just going to explain that in the use case description here. Okay, as you can see, I went ahead and filled out the use case description with the following verbiage. This campaign will be used for event alerts, merch delivery updates, and SMS notifications for the band Electric Voyage. Fans can opt in via our website form to start receiving alerts. Again, if I wanted to explain the correlation between ABC Industries LLC and the DBA that is Electric Voyage, the band, I can go ahead and explain that here as well. So again, as you can see, I updated this by saying ABC Industries LLC is a management / record label company for the band Electric Voyage. Also, Electric Voyage is a DBA under ABC Industries LLC. That way, our provider understands the correlation between the registered brand and the customer-facing brand that's on our website. Next up is another important section here. It's going to be sample message. So again, they want to see kind of examples of what your messaging is going to look like. If your business is not established and you haven't sent out one SMS message yet, that is okay. They just want to see examples of what your messaging is going to look like. For example, if I was a doctor's office, it would be something like, hey, I'm Dr. Eddie. I'm sending you out an appointment reminder for your upcoming visit. Reply stop to unsubscribe. Please keep in mind that when you send out the first message to your client, it does have to have that opt-out language in the first message. So for instance, reply stop to unsubscribe. That needs to be in the initial message that you send out to your customers every time. So in these sample messages, you do want to include the opt-out language as well. So for our example here, we're going to be sending out event alerts. So I want to give the providers a sample of what an event alert is going to look like. So I did add a sample message in here. You can see it clearly says, hey Mary, thank you for subscribing to event alerts for the band Electric Voyage. Please make sure to check out our website for any upcoming shows near you. Reply stop to unsubscribe. Perfect. That's it. Again, we already established that the DBA for ABC Industries LLC is Electric Voyage. In case that you're registering a brand with no DBA, you need to make sure that your brand's sender ID is added in here. So for instance, if the band name was ABC Industries LLC, I need to make sure that ABC Industries LLC is in the sender ID. Again, we need to give them a couple sample messages. We do have some templates as well that you can use to help out with this. So we do have a couple examples that you can use, and you can go ahead and just make sure that you're filling in any information that needs to be filled in with your company information. For this next sample message, again, I'm just gonna create another alert style message as an example. So again, I added another sample message here. Hello James, it's Electric Voyage. We'll be in a city near you. Please check out the link to stay up to date, abcindustries.com. Reply stop to unsubscribe. Again, already establishing in our use case description that Electric Voyage is a DBA of ABC Industries LLC. Now, in this next section, super important that you designate your decisions here now, because if you don't, you will need to submit a brand new campaign in order to make changes to these next selections. The first one is the message will include embedded links. As an example, in our last sample message, I did send an embedded link on there. I need to make sure that I have this selected in order for our provider to allow these messages to go through. Again, when it comes to embedded links, you do want to use the full URLs. You do want to stay away from any URL shorteners and adding those to your messages, as they could be deemed as fraud or malicious. Next, the messages will include phone numbers. This is important if you're going to be adding phone numbers to any messaging. You want to make sure that this checkbox is on. The next one is the messages include age-gated content as defined by carrier and CTA guidelines. Really quickly, if you search on Google, you can find CTA guidelines. It's very simple. Second, age-gated content is going to come into effect in this example specifically. If I am a restaurant and I am booking reservations and I sell alcohol at my restaurant, I don't need to set up an age gate for that. When someone goes on my website to opt in and I'm selling beverages directly on my website, I will need to set up an age gate for that. Keep that in mind if there's any content on your website that needs to be set up for a specific age group, for instance, guns, alcohol, tobacco, X, Y, and Z, you need to set up an age gate for that. The last one here is messages include content related to direct lending or other loan arrangements. This is for any business out there that's doing direct lending or loans. For instance, anyone doing any kind of home loans, you're going to want to make sure that you check this box. Now moving on, we're going to go to the last final parts here of the campaign registration before we go ahead and submit. Now, if I was going to say there was an important part to this registration, this section is going to be it. How do leads/contacts consent to receive messages? Understand that this is the section that you will be adding where your customers opt in or where your opt-in form lives so customers can opt in or receive messaging. In our example, I have opt-in via my website link. A second way that I have opt-in, so if we go back to the website, I'm just going to click back on the home page. I have two ways of opting in to receive messages from my business. Number one, if you remember from the previous sections here, if you remember this from the previous section, I had this text start to this number in order to start receiving messages. Let's just assume that this number here is a number that I pre-purchased in the platform in the LC phone system. So I need to explain this opt-in to the provider. So this is the first one that we're going to tackle. So if we go back to the registration, I'm just going to go ahead and type in my opt-in flow. Okay, as you can see here, I went ahead and filled out the information. End users consent to receive messages via my website contact form. I provided the link. It is very important that you provide the link to your opt-in form. And also by texting start to the phone number that I had in that ad, end users can text stop to opt out at any time. Now, if you're doing this kind of opt-in flow, you do need to provide a screenshot of that flow. So if you're using text start to a number, you need to show how that customer was even able to text start to that number to begin with. So I just want to show you guys really quick how you can set up a Google Doc just in case you needed to explain opt-in flow for something like a kiosk, or you had a sticker or a poster on a window to one of your businesses or something like that that gathered opt-in as well. Also with paper forms, if you have a doctor's office that has a paper form, this is ways that you can kind of explain how you gather opt-in. So you all remember that on our website, if we go back to the site, you can see I had this little disclosure here for texting start to this number. Again, assuming this number is an LC phone number that I already purchased in the account. So all I'm going to do is create a Google Doc, text start to opt-in flow. Customers can text start to this number 689-55-5555. And this is visible via our website, www.abcindustries.com. They can also see this as show or at shows as well. End users can reply stop to unsubscribe at any time. So again, I'm giving them every possible way that a customer can see this number to text start so that they can get opted into receiving messages from our company. If I had a kiosk, I would show pictures of where the kiosk is at the business with the opt-in form or whatever you have on like a little tablet or a POS system, and show that as well. If I had a sticker or a QR code somewhere in my business that they can scan to get opt-in, you need to show pictures of where that is in your business and provide that in a document like this to submit for A2P. Again, you want to make sure that the doc is shareable with anyone who has access to the link. Now anyone with this link can view this doc. We're going to go ahead and hit done. Once I have the link to the doc, the next thing that we're going to do is we need to attach this link to that same section of how do end users consent to receive messages. So we're going to go back to that section. and I'm going to put in here a little statement to let them know that that text start to that number flow is right here in this doc. Again, I went ahead and added the link in here, made sure that the link was shareable with anyone. This is very important. Again, just to recap, this section, you need to add in detail all the steps that your end users take to consent to receive messages from your business. Moving on, this next part is probably the easiest, is going to be what your opt-in message looks like. Again, you can use the examples here. So I'm just going to use this example for this section. I'm just going to hit that copy button. Again, I need to make sure that I'm removing the placeholder text and adding my own company information. So as you can see, I went ahead and added in that opt-in message. You've successfully opted in to receive notification and promotional SMS from Electric Voyage, managed by ABC Industries LLC. Please reply stop if you need to opt out in the future. With all these steps that we took here, including everything in the previous sections of this tutorial, you guys should have no problem moving forward with approval for A2P. If you guys need any additional help, please feel free to reach out to us via support. An agent will be more than happy to walk you through the process and get you guys on your feet and moving forward with utilizing SMS within the Go High Level system. You guys have a great day.